All right, guys, welcome back to the next episode of the White Monster podcast. I've already lost count. Today will be a little bit different. Austin is away, and in the following weeks will be a little bit different also because I'm traveling a little bit. So we're going to have a main show that Austin's going to run for a little bit, and I'm going to be doing some travel shows around Australia and Asia with some cool people that I can grab. But that's the future. Today, we have the man of the hour, Mr. Chris Wojcik.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I'm very excited to be here. Very excited to have my first white monster ever.
This is it. You ready?
Let's do it.
Deep in contemplation.
I'm not sure what is the flavor that is supposed to be.
It's white. White is the flavor.
It's not bad. It's like a soda.
Yeah. It's I feel like it's a little bit lighter than like a Red Bull or something like this. Do you drink energy drinks at all?
No.
Or are you strictly a coffee
I'm
man?
a coffee man. That's it, through and through.
Makes sense. Very classy, very dignified.
We have this like nice espresso machine at home now. That was Myra and I's first purchase together. Was like a $700 espresso machine.
That's like one of those like adult decisions. You know?
It was a very adult purchase. So it was like I have that with I have a latte or a cortado. More of a cortado man every morning.
You could be speaking Chinese for all I know.
It's like cortado is like 1 part espresso, 1 part coffee. I had them when we went to Spain, and now I'm hooked. But maybe I will switch and become a white monster. My dad is a blue monster man.
Blue is good too.
Yes,
blue
I've
is very
blue.
good.
I've had blue because of my dad, but I haven't had white. This is my first time. But I think this is the more popular one among guys at the gym.
Yeah, I'd like to take credit, and I'd like to take a sponsorship from Monster if you guys are listening. The amount of guys that I've got hooked on these at the gym.
The other day, this morning, because you guys made the mashup that I was coming on the show, somebody messaged me, and they were like, I listened to the last one, and I bought a White Monster because of the White Monster podcast.
This is what we wanted. In fairness, Monster did send me out those cases, so they did send me 400 cans of Monster and a tracksuit, so they know the way to my heart.
Are you like one monster in the morning, or you have a couple a day?
Now I'm one monster in the morning.
Okay.
In my younger years, I could do a couple, but one in the morning now, generally before I lift.
Okay, so it's like a pre-workout kind of thing.
Yeah, that's how I justify it to myself.
There you go. That's fair. Do you like coffee as well, or are you just monster?
I can't stand the smell, the taste, everything about coffee. I hate teaching the morning class. I love the guys. I love everything about it. This goes for all morning classes I've ever taught. People stink of coffee in the morning, and it drives me insane.
Yeah, I have my coffee in the morning, but I always brush my teeth after coffee because it like stains your teeth a little bit. But also too, there's I've had training partners in the past who just reek of coffee, and you don't really want to smell what someone's been doing before they come to the gym, you know?
Back home, a couple of the guys are like coffee roasters. Like they have their own, that for me is tough. And Jack Hayes, I love you, one of my best friends. I've traveled all over the country for Jack when he was fighting MMA. One of the best guys I'll ever meet. But when you run a coffee shop, it's tough, you know. For me,
you can't shower that off.
Yeah, that's on you at that point.
Damn, that's crazy.
He's the man. Today, we'll obviously cover the Who's Number One event, that's just passed, where you once again hit a wonderful submission. But what I want to really get into is the many layers of Chris Wojcik, because Chris is a guy maybe not everyone knows yet, but he's very quiet, very reserved, very humble, just a great guy, one of the best guys to hang out with in the gym. But the more layers we peel back and the more we learn about you, the more interested I am of how you came to be here and all the different lives you've lived, you know? So let's start with Who's Number One, that just passed. You finished with a test lock, a side Achilles. I know this is something, I know for a fact it's something you've been working for a while because my feet have been victim to... when you come in the gym, you're like, Declan, let me try something, you know? So just let's walk us through your match first and how you felt.
Yeah, so it was so when the match got announced, I think a lot of people were kind of complaining that I was so low on the card, and I appreciate that. That was like very nice. You know, it's nice to have like loyal fans who are going to speak up for you and say things that maybe you're not going to say yourself.
It's been brought up on the podcast a couple of times. Myself and Austin, very verbal.
But what I found out on Monday when I went to Flow to do the Flow podcast was that they asked 10 people, and the guy who I competed against was the 11th guy that they asked. So like, it was like the match got booked like maybe three weeks out, but it was like a long time of like, is there gonna be anybody? Is anyone gonna say yes? What's gonna happen here? I was like, oh, I'll go against Taza or Felipe Costa or like the guys who are like kind of like the top tier guys at like any of the weight classes that I'll do, but like nobody wanted to do the match. No one was saying yes, and then it got kind of, the main card got full. Then they were trying to look for me on the add me to the prelims, and then that almost didn't happen because they went through a few guys there as well who didn't want to do it. So like going into the match, I was just kind of happy to have a match because it was like just hard to get it booked. But I'm hoping with the win now we'll be able to open up kind of some like higher ranking opponents, some top tier guys.
It's going to be undeniable now with a performance like that. You posted something I thought was very interesting, and the fact that they asked 10 people. You're also ranked in 3 divisions on Flow. What is that, 170, 185, 205?
I'm ranked at 185, 195, and 205. I'm not ranked at 170 currently. But
Interesting.
I have only competed at 170 once in the last 2 years. So
that was the
EBI. And I only did that because I wanted to like see if I could still make it. And I was going to be like if I had a hard time making it, I would just never do 170 again. But I ended up having like, honestly, the best weight cut of my career probably. Like I kind of learned how to like do it right. Like I had a really easy cut. And so I was like, okay, now I can make 170. I just need a little bit of heads up.
It was a great performance too. Like that was probably one of the most versatile performances we've seen from you.
Yeah, EBI overtime was still a little short, but everything else I felt pretty good. But
who was the final?
Alan Sanchez. And Alan is like, and I kind of controlled the regulation, but Alan is just like one of the best EBIOT guys. And what's interesting too is like I've had several matches with Ryan Aitken, who I would say is probably like the best 10th planet like EBIOT competitor. Like he's beat PJ, he's beat, he's won Combat Jiu-Jitsu Worlds, he won PGF with a bunch of overtime wins. The best OT that I had experienced. Alan's OT was completely different. So like still really good, but he had like a different approach to attacking in the overtime. Whereas like Ryan is more like using the body triangle and using like his grip switching, it like happens in a certain way. Alan was using different grips and like kind of this like, I think he was using, I have to rewatch exactly how he finished, but his attacks were different than Ryan's. And I learned that there are like levels to the EBIOT that I just hadn't experienced.
That's super interesting. Yeah, Ryan Aitken is one of those guys who EBIOT, anything, he seems to just win those style tournaments. He won the EBI Absolutes that I was on, where I lost to Giancarlo, and then Giancarlo lost to Big Dan, and then Ryan beat Big Dan in overtime, which to have any man of that size start in such a dominant position is so tough. So Ryan's obviously incredible in that position.
Yeah, I think he's like, I'd like to see him and Nicky Rod in EBI overtime.
Yeah, Nicky Rod is...
Even if it's just in the training room, because I don't know if Nicky Rod's going to be doing EBI rules ever again, at this point.
Yeah, it doesn't have to.
But, like, it would just be interesting to see because, like, the only guy who's, like, that big and that good on the back who I could compare Ryan to is Nicky Rod. But then Alan, like, is way smaller and completely different. So, like, going into EBI, I was like, okay, I'm going to do a bunch of rounds on the back with Nicky Rod, and I'll be great at EBI. But then, like, Alan just used kind of, like, strategy that I hadn't seen before,
Yeah, those Nicky Rod EBI rounds in the gym are, like, the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I look like I've been in a fight afterwards. My gums and nose are always bleeding. I'm just beat up.
It's the worst, and it's usually, like, he wants to do it, like, at the end of the week.
Yeah.
It's like the worst way to spend a Saturday.
You've done your 6 rounds or whatever we've done that day, and Nick Rod's like, oh, let's do 40 minutes of EBI overtime. Yeah. You just sat there dripping.
And dude, also, like, sometimes he'll let me start with a body triangle, and I can barely hold it for, like, 30 seconds to a minute,
He's so crazy to hold there. Let's talk about the rest of the card for who's number one, because we had a bunch of guys. So the prelims opened with Taylor, who just looked phenomenal. Like, I think at that weight class, she's going to be so hard for any of the other athletes to stop.
Was this a new weight class for her?
No. This was, I believe, 135. The week before, she defended her finishers sub-only title at 125. And shout out to Taylor for making me look good, because the sequence she finished with was one we did in the morning class that week.
Nice.
You know, I can't actually finish it in competition, and Taylor did. So maybe I'm a better teacher than I am an athlete, you know? But yeah, she smashed it. And then I've heard the rumors of who she's got next, and it's going to be incredible.
I'm going to ask you off camera.
Yeah. I can't reveal that yet, but that's going to be such a great match. Such a good athlete, and like, not only is she incredibly athletic, but her ability to learn and continue to learn.
Also, too, like, Trinity beat her a few years ago, so, like, you know, and I think it was a pretty convincing decision, you know, like, it was a decision, but it was like, there was no doubt in anyone's mind when the match ended.
She, like, scored on the feet and passed the guard, you know, Trinity, a very dangerous opponent too, but worked a lot of submissions from the bottom, but nothing ever really eventuated for her.
Yeah.
So it was great to see, because I think for that match, it was like, where Trinity is strong is perhaps where you would see Taylor's weaknesses, but she's obviously fixed a lot of those holes.
Yeah, she looked really good, like very complete and very well-rounded.
Yeah, and then after that, we had Colin, who's been training with us. He's a 10th Planet B Team crossover now, and he did amazing. Like, some of his passing was really nice. He got entangled a couple of times, which cost him. He ate a couple deep heel hooks. I don't know how he didn't take any damage.
He's really hard to finish in the room. I have to I'm scared to try, because I have to put on real finishes to get him to tap.
Yeah.
And even then, I'm like, is this working?
It's so crazy. He's just looking at you. I'm just trying to break him, and I'm like, it's not breaking yet. I'm so scared to go any further.
Yeah, but I think he's only been with us for a couple months now. You know, I think that, like, you give him like a year in that room, he's gonna be doing really well.
Totally different. Then we had J-Dog. J-Dog was putting on a clinic. Some of the best passing I've ever seen him display, especially in competition. That was incredible. And then, unfortunately, just got caught in Ben's, one of his best spots, you know. As soon as he threw the leg up over the back, just entangled him. Ended up in a triangle, but I think Jay has a lot to be proud of in that performance, you know?
Yeah, definitely showed, like, some really, like, good, not just wrestling, really good jiu-jitsu. His passing looked great. Literally just one mistake at that level is what can turn it around.
So crazy. And then we had you, obviously, with the side ankle lock finish. You did have a look at the Woj, but I remember you saying in the room it just didn't feel right, and you made the adjustment and switch, re-entangle. And...
Yeah, I felt like it. Like, honestly, in hindsight, when I rewatched it, I'm like, if I had maybe just sent it, I could have maybe gotten a break. But I was, like, kind of thinking, like, okay, I don't want to just send it on the Woj right away. I was like, you know, maybe I'll go into, you know, the other side ankle lock. I really wanted to get an arm bar. That was, like, my goal. I was, like, shooting way more arm bars than normal. But I think that was what gave me the leg entry anyway, was, like, just attacking the upper body more.
Yeah, I think he felt that. Like, I remember watching on the side when you continued to attack his upper body, he started to be less careful on the legs.
Yeah.
Which, with you, I think is going to be at the start of every match ever, is people just trying to deny you access to the legs.
Yeah, it's definitely, like, the first kind of, like, few minutes is definitely just, like, shooting subs the whole time, and then after that, it's, like, more wrestling up and sweeping. But, like, first couple of minutes, I was, like, content for the first probably 5-6 minutes of that match to just shoot subs the whole time. Plus, in that rule set, it's like that's the only thing that really matters. Yeah.
And then we opened up the main card with Owen. Owen, like, gave me a heart attack off the rip. That slide by, almost got his back taken, and then miraculously came on top. But then started to display some really good passing, starting to fall back onto the legs. I think Julian had a very good performance.
Julian is really good. I think that Owen kind of separated himself a little bit in that match, like, in terms of, like, being, like, kind of the, like, upper echelon versus, like, the very top tier guys. I think now it's like you kind of have to put him against someone in the top 5 next.
Yeah,
you know,
he's been calling for that Cisneros match. He didn't get to have that at at ADCC because of his foot, but that'll be super interesting, I think.
Yeah, I'd like to see him like Cisneros, Keith, Pato again. Those are the matches that I think make the most sense for him.
For sure. Even Baby Shark.
Baby Shark would be sick as well.
Like, obviously, I had the match.
They were on opposite sides, right?
Yeah, they were on opposite sides. I had the match with Baby Shark, and obviously I'm massive, so it's hard to tell. I think it's a stylistic thing.
You made it look easy. So.
But having like that match with Baby Shark and trained with Owen, I know Owen is like... I foresee Owen giving Baby Shark some problems, just in the complexity of how he entangles and his ability to also wrestle and come on top as well. Yeah, and then then we had the legends, Boogie and Zhangji go at it. Zhangji putting the old school half guard pressure on and just getting through to the Kimura.
But Boogie had some really good looks early on in that match.
He won first referee's decision, you know?
Yeah. I think I was in the shower in that match. I don't think I saw it. I rewatched Collins yesterday because I was backstage for Collins, so I didn't get to see it live. So I rewatched it yesterday, but I haven't gone through the whole. I also missed Helena and Elizabeth Clay.
Helena, Elizabeth was interesting. Elizabeth sold out on this ankle lock, and I think with someone so flexible like Helena, it just exposed her to such a bad spot where she slipped her knee and then was already so deep on the back. A similar thing happened when she sort of sold out in this same position with Brianna at the UFC Fight Pass. And Brianna used it to get to like that head arm finish from the side. So it's interesting to see that she's committed to this like sort of ankle lock technique on these girls. It'll be interesting to see if we see a little change after this.
Yeah, it's been 2 kind of tough matches in a row for her.
Yeah, losing to Brianna.
Also, though, like, this is the toughest month for her in her back-to-back. Like, going from Brianna to Helena, those are the 2, like, kind of top-tier 145 girls, I think, in the whole world right now.
Yeah, and trying to stay fresh in between those events, it's near impossible. So it's definitely no slight on Elizabeth Clay. She's phenomenal, and I think she's just going to go...
She's like a multi-time world champion?
Yeah, she's like 24. She's like unreal.
Yeah. You're based out of Alaska, I think.
Really?
I think so,
know that.
which is interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if she still trains there. I could be wrong about that, but I think she was from Alaska. Because I remember like when she first kind of came on the scene when she was like 15, 16.
I remember when she jumped guard and broke that girl's leg. That's my first...
Which tournament was that?
It was like Worlds in like 2000.
That always happens, though. Like, jumping guard is...
And the girl's leg just bowed backwards, and it was one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen.
Yeah, jumping guard. There are like so many horror stories of jumping guard. Like, I feel like butt scooting and, like, just sitting gets a bad rep, you know, because, like, people, like, it's like, no, you can't do that in a real fight. But, like, jumping guard is, like, leads to so many injuries. You don't really get a great position. You get standing close guard, which is, like, means you're about to probably let go of close guard anyway.
That was my position in the gi, close guard and jumping close guard.
All right, well, I think I maybe respect you a little less.
It was maybe 50 pounds ago, though. If I did it now, it might have been more catastrophic injuries.
Yeah, we have to talk about the many different sizes of Declan Moody.
Every IBJJF weight class I've competed in, from Rusev to ultra heavy.
That's crazy. I've only ever done. I used to do lightweight back in the day, and then I did middleweight, and then medium heavy, and then I retired from the IBJJF.
Yeah, my
definitely
IBJJF gi runs were primarily lightweight and middleweight. Like especially at the majors. I used
to. I remember when I was a blue belt, I did the IBJJF New York Pro for $400, which I spent way more on that than that to go to New York and sign up for the tournament and compete and all that stuff. But I remember I was running around Manhattan looking for a laxative so I could make weight the night before with my mom. I was like 20 years old. And we finally found a corner store that had a laxative that was like open at like 11:30 or whatever. And it should have probably, in hindsight, like it's New York, so it's probably easy to find a pharmacy. But for whatever reason, where we were staying, there was like no pharmacy within like 1 or 2 subway stops. We were trying to walk around. But I just remember thinking, like, if I need to do this to make weight for IBJJF, maybe I should just go to the next weight class.
Yeah.
And so then I did, and never looked back. I'm always an advocate for people to just go up and weight, because like
you've had major success in doing that.
Every time I go up and weight, I do better.
That's what I did. My first trials at I did it 77 in 2019, and I just a simple story. It's like the morning of the weigh-ins, because you weighing in the same day at that point, and I step on my scale and I'm like 1.5 kilos over still. I thought I was going to lose a bit more in my sleep, and I'm like, oh shit! So I'm in this hostel, like a capsule hostel in Japan, and I'm trying to like steam up the shower, but you can't have the light on, because that turns the fan on. So I'm in this pitch black little tube shower with boiling hot water, doing star jumps, trying to sweat out the rest of the weight. Jesus. And then I was like, maybe I'll move up to 88 next time.
I had a similar story. I was in Poznan for the European trials in 2022. And it was my first time going overseas to compete, because I was like, I had a English passport. I was born in England, so I was traveling from Chicago to Poland to compete, and I fucked up I didn't know, like, if I ate anything on the plane, I was just gonna suck in 5 pounds of water, and I didn't really understand water loading at the time, and like, I didn't really get good training, and because I wasn't eating meals when I got there, my jet lag never went away. So I was just like miserable, and I did like 3 sauna sessions on the day before, and I remember like going into this rec center where the tournament was, and I spoke, no Polish, and they kept talking to me because I look super Polish, so like they were always asking me like, like trying to get me to pay for things and all this stuff. I just didn't know, so I would just give them money, and I don't know if it was the right amount. Or maybe they probably screwed me and didn't give me change or whatever. But, like, I kept going in the sauna, and then I woke up the morning of, and I had to run more in sweats, but it was, like, a little chilly. And it was just, like, it was brutal. And then I finally made weight, and then I tried to eat an oatmeal, and I, like, threw up because I just couldn't keep anything down from, like, not eating. So I was kind of, like, next time going up to 88.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. In Poland, is your last name Polish?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's
Wojcik in Polish.
Interesting, and no Polish at all.
No, so because my great grandpa was the first. He came to America.
Oh, okay, so
it's like, it was a long.
Still been a while. And you were born in the UK.
So my dad was working in London, and so when I was born, so I have a UK passport.
But your parents are Polish American. Well,
my dad is Polish American. My mom is like, American.
Interesting. Very
and
diverse mix.
I'm also Italian on my dad's side as well. So like, if you ever meet my dad, people always say he looks like a mobster, because he's got this like long, kind of like, he's balding, but he still has long hair. He looks he's Sicilian, so he looks kind of like a gangster a little bit.
It's got to be in there.
Yeah,
bloodline
somewhere. For
sure. Bringing it back to who's number one, the co-main event saw Luke Griffith and Victor Hugo. I think this was the most exciting match of the night. It was a great match. Victor, I don't know when the last time Luke's been lifted off the ground like that.
I know, that was
straight onto his head. And then a point that people have made is that sometimes Luke struggles when he's in bad positions. I disagree. I can't put him there in 2 matches, so I wouldn't know. But I think this was like a thought people had. And to watch Luke overcome Victor, a near 300-pounder, on his back for that long, come back and win, I think that showed how strong Luke's heart is. And I think it showed Luke has lost a significant amount of size and weight, and it just showed how fit he was. Definitely going to be a dangerous guy in that CGI.
He lost 40 pounds from ADCC.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's nuts.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Yeah,
and he
still was way bigger than me.
Yeah, he weighed in around 227 to 230, which I'm relatively close to. I'm maybe like 222 right now. And I was like, we do not look 5 pounds apart. He looks gigantic next to me. He's a huge man. And yeah, what a performance from the both. Victor also looked great, like mixed in some wrestling we hadn't seen from him.
It could have gone, I think, either way. Just, Luke got to his spot at the right time, when Victor was starting to get tired, and kind of, was able to control it from there. But like,
yeah, that's one you could probably
Victor
run 4 times and be different every time.
They've competed before, yeah? Or was this the first time?
I think this might have been the first time for those two. Victor's competed against Dan, Big Dan, but I'm not sure he ever faced Luke.
Victor is huge, bro.
he is gigantic.
He's ginormous.
He shook my hand the other day, and his fingers were halfway down my forearm. I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah, he's massive. He's like there's not a lot of guys in jiu-jitsu that big.
No, they generally go into a sport that makes real money, you know. And then main event took about 5 years off my life. When, kind of started strong, put Nicky Rod down, and almost had the back. But Nicky Rod trains these bad positions so often, and it really showed, you know. And then when he got back on the feet and kind of expended all that energy following the Granbies, and to be that size, it's expensive to do that. And Nick Rod, I think, has the best gas tank at that size.
Yeah, for sure. I think Kynan struggles in super fights. I think he like at ADCC, he always, and this has been like 3-4 years now where it's been like this. He's always just been kind of perfect at ADCC, and then he goes and does a bunch of super fights, and like I think that was kind of one of the big storylines going in, was it was like, okay, which Kynan do we get? And I think we kind of got a little bit of both. Like the first 5 minutes, I think he was ADCC Kynan, and then he kind of faded, and Nicky Rod just capitalized. And once Nicky Rod got on top, it was all Nicky Rod.
Yeah. Nick just looked phenomenal. His control, his mount control. It's so, I've been there plenty of times. I do a lot of rounds with him there, so I know how hard it is. And Kynan he seemed to like just be sinking in the situation, you know. Nick Rod's on top of him, and I think the smother at the end was close too. It looked
really close. Like he was, but it's like a Rod brother thing just to have that smother again.
Yeah, they're both brutal with it.
Yeah.
At least in the match, he didn't spit in his rash guard and then do it. You know, in the gym,
true.
he's just spitting and snotting in the rash guard and then puts it in your face. You're not sure whether to escape or throw up.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, that was a great performance by Nicky Rod. Just like, you know, he overcame adversity. He, you know, he passed the guard, you know, and also too, just like kind of like it's hard to get a sub. Unfortunately, I think an anticlimactic end with him holding him there for 6 minutes, but like, you know,
when it's like two of arguably, you know, you've got maybe 5 guys at the top: Gordon, Penner, Nicky, Victor, and now Luke. Sorry. So let's say that's 6. Let's say they're the 6 top guys right now. Did
you say Marigali as well?
Let's say Marigali's injured right now,
okay,
so he's not in that like active circle right now. He'll obviously be back and will be in there. It's like they've all sort of either had a win over each other, or it doesn't quite add up, you know. So it's crazy to see what's going to happen next, and very rarely these guys subbing each other.
Yeah.
So I don't think anyone has had like the most decisive run to the top now, especially now Gordon's out, you know?
Yeah.
And Gordon had a very close match with Nicky and Penner and Victor the last time. Mm-hmm. So it's not like even he is that far above them.
And I think his match with Kynan, it was many years ago, but I think it was close as well.
Yeah. It's true.
I think that would have been one I would have loved to see if if Gordon was healthy and they were like in their prime, you know, that would have been
on that ADCC
on
weekend,
ADCC. Yeah, that would have been
unreal.
The match to make
for sure.
But now I think it's like it's kind of hard to see what happens going forward. But also too, it's like the different rule sets like play a factor. Like I think if you think about Victor and Nicky Rod, a big factor was the fight pass rule set. So Nicky Rod was going forward trying to score, and that kind of led to the mistake that got him subbed. Whereas like the other night, it was like kind of a different rule set for Nicky Rod and Kynan. I think there needs to be like a maybe one of the next CJIs. There needs to be like a true heavyweight Grand Prix in like a CJI rule set or something like that.
Yeah, the real number one.
Yeah, who's really number one?
Yeah, yeah, that's super interesting. Like
even like in a WNO rule set or something. But it would be cool to see them all in like one kind of abbreviated form, a bracket, where it's like kind of one rule set and they all have to do the same rule set against each other. Because it's like right now it's like Nicky Rod lost in one rule set to Hugo, but then he beat Kynan in another rule set. And has Kynan gone against Hugo before?
I don't think so. Not to my knowledge. Not for a very long time, at least.
That would be a good match,
that
too.
Would
I
be
think
a great
both guys who are coming off of losses, I think it would be a really fun one.
Yeah. Kynan, I believe is the smallest of that group though.
He's not as big as I thought he was. I think just because I've never I don't think I've ever met him. So I think just like seeing him in person, I was like, oh, he's not super tall. He's very thick.
He's very, very dense. Yeah. The strongest human being that's ever grabbed me, for sure. I was in shock. I went into that ADCC, I was like, I'm going to be the strongest guy in here by far. As soon as he grabbed me, I was like, I'm the second strongest guy in this division.
Yeah, he's a strong dude, and he looks it too. He looks like Mr. Incredible. That's what they always call him.
Yeah, it was funny. One of the guys back home was like, I wonder what sort of shape Kyan's going to be in, because he was like, he weighed in like a baggy t-shirt, and then Kyan uploaded this like mirror selfie, and he just looked like he stepped off the Mr. Olympia stage. I sent to him, I was like, oh, this could be bad.
Damn, but all those guys look like just fucking. Just specimens. I mean, that's the top tier of the heavyweights. You know, it's interesting. Like the lower heavyweights are kind of more like dancing bears, and then you've got these like NFL player looking guys fighting each other at the top tier.
Yeah, that's the problem with heavyweight. It's like there's a very vast difference in athleticism. Mm-hmm. You know, you can get a 300-pound heavyweight who's never lifted a weight in his life, or you can get a 300-pound heavyweight who looks like Victor Hugo, who's just an athlete. So it's crazy.
Big Dan did a seminar at my old gym in Chicago a few years ago, and he rolled. My coach Jeff was like my size, and he rolled with him, and he was like, "I've never felt so fragile training with somebody."
Yeah. I had a match with Big Dan at in the finals of a tournament out in Houston.
Oh, I remember that.
He pulled me into an overhook and just sort of bumped me with his hip, and I went flying. Yeah. I was like, we're not even the same species at this point.
He's like 300 pounds, right?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I think he was like 295 or something that day, and I was like, what the fuck is going on?
That's massive.
It's so big. But back to you, Mr. Chris.
All right.
I want to know how he got from stand-up comedian in Chicago to out here in Austin.
All right, so many people don't know this, but I did some stand-up comedy when I was, I think I was 20. So I started jiu-jitsu in Chicago area when I was 17 in high school. I moved to Oregon when I was when I was 18, and I went to university out there for a year and a quarter. And I dropped out because I was just miserable, and it was rainy, and I hated it.
What were you studying?
I was undecided. I think that was part of the reason. I had I was either going to do, I wanted to do exercise science or something like that, but you had to test in, and I hadn't quite tested in, and I was also looking at some sort of literature major, but I was like, no, that's stupid. Nobody makes money studying literature. So I was trying to figure out, but then I was like, but if you're a business major, that's dumb too, because you don't need to go to school for business. You need to just start a business. So I had all these conflicting ideas in my head when I went to college, and I was doing jiu-jitsu at night, and I was like, this is the only thing I do that makes any sense. And then after about a year, I was like, okay, I'm not really liking this. And so I went back home to Chicago, and I got full into jiu-jitsu as a blue belt who was just kind of obsessed with it. And I competed a bunch. I did IBJJF. I did my first Nogi Worlds when I was still living in Oregon, and I didn't know the rules. I literally didn't know anything. I just was like, if I stay on top, I bet I can do well. And I took third, and I was like, okay, if I got bronze at Worlds and I don't even know the rules, I bet I can get pretty good at this. And so moved back to Chicago, went full into jiu-jitsu. I started competing more in the gi, and then I started losing a lot because I didn't know the guard yet. I didn't really know how to pass. I was just I wrestled in high school, and not well, just okay, but I had the base. And so then I learned guard and all that stuff, and I started doing really well in competition at blue belt. And then I was competing in jiu-jitsu. That's my thing. I'm super good at this. And then I hurt my knee. And I had this kind of mysterious knee injury. It was a meniscus tear, but it was locking, and then it would unlock, and I would be fine. And then I would get an MRI, and nothing would show up on the MRI. And so I remember I went out to Pans, and I competed at the Pans, and I was in the same bracket as Tynan. And I was kind of doing really well, and I was like, okay, it's going to be me and Tynan in the finals. This is the plan. And then I got to the semis, and my knee just went, and I couldn't move it. and I lost, and I tapped to this guy was pulling on my neck, and I just tapped because I couldn't move my leg, and then Flow Grappling was there, and they made this like viral video of this guy's like made up choke.
Oh no.
And I was like, God, I like jiu-jitsu sucks. Why did I do this? And then I was like, okay, I'm not competing again because I don't want this dumb, like humiliating loss to happen. I'm not competing again until my knee gets better. And my knee was like mostly better, or I thought it was. And I was training. I was like, I'm going to return at Worlds. You know, like the time between Pans and Worlds is like 12 weeks or something like that. So I go out to Worlds that year.
A long retirement then.
Yeah, not like a retirement, but like a break to like heal, you know?
Yeah.
And so I go out to Worlds that year, and the Monday before Worlds, my knee locks again. And I was like, this like fucked with my headspace, obviously, but I was also just like, oh, my knee is not better, you know? So I was like, then I'm going to be probably fighting injured. So I go compete at Worlds, and I get put in a 50-50, and like, you know how IBJJF, you can't give up the sweep in 50-50? This guy like straightens his leg, and my knee just locks in 50-50. So I like fall down, concede the sweep, and then we go out of bounds, so I reset my knee, and I try to keep fighting and sweeping this guy, and I lose. And now I'm like, okay, now I'm really not competing at all until my knee gets better. So I was like kind of having this like identity crisis at like 19, and also like being 19 and like not really like, you know, just dropped out of college and was not really doing anything with my life per se. Jiu-jitsu wasn't even really going well. I didn't have like a real job or anything. So I was kind of just like a little bit lost, and I was like, you know what I should do as a lost 19-year-old man is I should do stand-up comedy. So I found my way to stand-up comedy at the age of 19, and I lasted about 4 months, because I don't know if you know anything about doing stand-up comedy, but stand-up comedy is brutal. So it's like you're at these mics with all these like depressed guys. Like nobody is happy. It's not even like, and it's not like jiu-jitsu where like even if someone is unhappy in their life, they come to jiu-jitsu, they're super happy to be doing jiu-jitsu. Comedy is not like that. These people are kind of miserable until they get on stage. You know, they're not like friendly. They're not like trying to be your friend. Everyone kind of wants to make it or whatever. So I didn't like, things didn't get better, and I wasn't very good at comedy, but I was doing it, you know. I met some friends doing it, and they were all right, but like we were living very different lives. You know, I was like an athlete taking a break, and they were like comedians, you know.
I imagine their life revolves around open mics and drinking and just like general degeneracy.
It's not a healthy lifestyle per se, and I was kind of exposed to that. And like at first, I was like, especially when I was like kind of going through stuff personally, I was kind of into it. I was like, oh, you know, like smoking weed and drinking it on a Tuesday night, this is fun. You know, and I was also like not competing or really even training at the time because my knee was kind of fucked, but I was doing a few privates. So I'm doing this, and then I go to do a private, and I'm rolling lightly with this older guy who I'm doing a private with, and my knee just goes again, like super bad, the worst it ever went. And in my head, part of me is like, oh, maybe this is like now they're going to find what's wrong with me. Because like at the time, you know, in hindsight, it all just seems like a meniscus tear. But at the time, I had no idea. I thought it was like maybe a IT band thing. Maybe I had hyperflexible ligaments. Who knows? So I finally get my knee to be like identified as a meniscus tear on an MRI. Literally. So like this injury, I was out of competition for 9 months. I was barely training for 6 of those. The knee injury, like the bad knee injury happens. 3 weeks later, I'm scheduled for surgery. 3 weeks after that, I'm back training.
Like nothing had ever happened.
Like, because I had the meniscectomy, so they just went in and they just snipped it. And I was like, and they're like, okay, yeah, you know, you didn't have a repair, so the second that your inflammation goes down, you're good to start doing, you know, exercise. And especially when you're young, like I think I was 20 by the time that I got the surgery, you just heal so fast. So I was back training within a few weeks, and then kind of started to get back into jiu-jitsu. And there was like kind of this period where I was like, well, I like doing comedy too. Maybe I should do comedy and jiu-jitsu. And then I signed up for a tournament to go back to competing in jiu-jitsu. I did the tournament, never did comedy again. I was like kind of doing it a little bit for fun, and then I competed, and I didn't even do really well at the competition, but like the process of training for it, I was like going to do other stuff less and less, and I was like kind of being better about my diet, and I was like, why do I want to hang out with these people who are like super unhappy all the time? You know, and so that kind of led me to eventually being like, okay, after I did this tournament, I was like, this is like kind of what I want to do. And then after that, I think it was like, let's see, I competed in February. The following December, I won Nogi Worlds at purple belt. So I was like, okay, now jiu-jitsu is my thing.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the
made the right decision.
Yeah. In hindsight, I'm very glad, because if I was still doing comedy, I don't think my life would be going as well.
Although I will say, I think you have the best one-liners in the gym. You know,
I have a couple. I used to have good. That was my strength when I did comedy. It was like the occasional like one-liner that was good.
you get me in trouble because you whisper something to me, like, and I'll burst out laughing, and then everyone will look at me, and I'm like, I can't throw Chris under the bus. No one's going to believe it's you over me anyway. Everyone's going to think it's me messing around.
I definitely, I'm also too, when I'm at the gym, I'm very, like, I don't even realize how, like, kind of, like, focused on the task I am until, like, usually it's Myra being like, if we go to a gym and something happens, I don't even know what happens, you know? Or, like, if we're training and, like, somebody, like, she's like, oh, did you see those people arguing? I was like, no, I didn't see anything. You know, so, like, normally I just don't pay attention to this stuff except for, like, an occasional, like, joke or something like that. But I'm pretty quiet at the gym, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the more we started to hang out outside of the gym, the more I was like, there's layers, you know? You had a bunch of success at the color belts. Like you said, you won Nogi Worlds at purple. What about the gi? What was the highest? The bronze?
So I got bronze at pans in the gi. I think that was the only major medal I had in the gi. And like, it's funny because when that bronze, it's funny how like you look back at things and they mean so little to you. You know, like even like purple belt world championship, when it happened, I was like, this is a defining moment. And now I'm like, like, I don't know. It was all right. You know, it was a big day. But in hindsight, I'm like, it's fine. You know,
it's crazy. Now you know, top 4 88er at ADCC. That's like the pinnacle of the sport was ADCC, you know, and now to be one of the top 4 guys in your weight class, arguably your weight class, you can fluctuate between any weight class, is like one of the most impressive things, I think, in the sport.
I think, well, that's very nice of you. I think that like, as the more I compete, the more tournaments or like matches or whatever that I do, the more the sort, like, when I was younger and I was like a blue belt and purple belt, I was like, I have to get these like medals or these wins to prove that I'm good at jiu-jitsu, and to prove that I should keep doing like this as hard as I do it.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of like, it's fine. You know, whatever happens is fine. And I feel like a lot less like anxiety about competing and pressure than I used to. Like when I first started, I was like, so like I wouldn't sleep for like a week before every match. I would like, if I lost, I would have this like meltdown. It was like, you know, now I'm just like, if I lose, it's okay.
I agree. Like, I was the same. And me and a buddy used to say this a lot. It's like, it doesn't matter if it's the World Championships or, like, the South Australian state title. It's like, in the moment, it feels as important.
Yeah.
But now, like, I've had some good wins. But I've also, you know, I've lost on Who's Number One main card to Penna. I lost in Kazakhstan, and I lost at ADCC. I've lost, like, some big matches, too. And I'm like, nothing really went wrong after I lost. I've only improved from these things. So now when I look back at it, I'm like, oh, it doesn't change much, losing. It's just an opportunity to get better and come back, and then, like, hopefully next time I get a big opportunity, win and progress, you know?
Well, I think, like, so for ADCC trials, I remember, like, the first time I did it, I went against Placido, and I got guillotined in the like first round. And in my head, I was like, I'm like top. I can make it to ADCC. This was 2021, and I was like, okay, next trials, I'm gonna do everything right. I'm gonna have this great camp. Blah 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 blah. And I, you know, had this like huge jump. I got 4th, so I went from like losing first round to I beat Cody and I beat a few other like top guys, and I got 4th at that trials, which was like a huge step. But I remember being like after both, like whether I lost or whether I won, I was always like, either way, it's like you go back to train on Monday, and it's like the same thing, and you're just getting ready for something else, or you're just trying to improve at something else. So I think that like the sort of like, it's kind of, maybe it's an inexperienced thing, but like in the beginning, you tend to hype up the importance of getting results. And like there is some element of it that is important. Like it is important to win because if you win, you get more opportunities. But like if you lose, it's not like everything goes away.
Yeah.
It's like more like maybe you have to like go against, like if you lose, maybe you can't go against someone as good next time. Or maybe like you want to get a title shot, but you lost, so you probably can't get a title shot.
Yeah.
But there's still like opportunities that come up if you are like consistent, like in competition, like you're consistently competing, putting yourself out there, consistently doing what you have to do. I feel like there's good things come to those who just stay the course.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Did you perform best of anyone in the American trials? I'm trying to think. Because Dorian was out second round. Pixley also fourth place.
Pixley was fourth place at ADCC.
Yeah.
J-Rod, runner up.
Yeah, silver.
Who else? What about 66? 66 was Dorian, and who won the other one?
Was it Keith? No.
Keith was a runner up. It was Corby.
Corby. Yeah.
Maybe it was. Well, then the other thing too is like I think the Tackets would have done really well. They won trials, but they both went to CJI. So
I mean, we actually missed the Andrew match in our recap, but man,
this
what a heel hook and what a setup.
You know what's funny is William almost tapped me with the same thing in 2022 in the
Really?
trials, like the same kind of sequence. It was like kind of off of a weird 50-50 type thing, and I like spun spaz to get out of it. And Andrew did something similar to me at Emerald City Invitational in 2022. So, like, those guys have been using this, like, kind of unorthodox 50-50 stuff forever.
Yeah, those guys are, like, obviously, they're highly rated, but I still think they're underrated. They're so good, so slick.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the Andrew Joseph rubber match. They're 1-1.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the match to make. In my mind, at 77, I don't think anyone can stop Joseph, but what a match it'll be. I would also like to see Joseph and Mika.
Joseph and Mika would be a great match.
Yeah.
Joseph needs to be like if Joseph is healthy and like peaking, he's just so difficult to do anything to, you know?
Yeah.
I think
like, where do you can't take him down now. His wrestling's too good. You can't pass his guard. His retention is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
He's so dangerous. If he catches, he can enter your legs. He can play pinch headlock. And then if he's on top, you're getting melted. Yeah.
I think that and also too, the thing about Joe is he's so young. Like, what's he, like 20 now?
20 still, yeah.
So it's like you give this kid like 6 years or something. Like, because I'm 27. I can only imagine like if I was as good as him. Like, because I think about when I was 20, I was literally doing stand-up comedy in Chicago. So it's like, if you think about like a guy like that who's just been so focused for so long already, you think like 5-6 years where he'll be. And I think Andrew Tackett is what, like maybe
they're about the same age. A couple of years difference, nothing.
That's a super fun match to do again. And then same with Mika. Mika's really young as well. All the guys, this is the problem with 77 is all the best guys at 77 are like 20 and they were homeschooled. It's like, bro, you can't compete with that.
Yeah, that's why I did 99. I was like the mean age, thanks to Cyborg and Lovato, I think we're in the mid 30s, you know.
And the other thing is like somebody made a video like having a brother your age is the best base for jiu-jitsu.
So funny.
Like the Rotolos, the Tackets,
the Meows back in the day,
Mendez. Yeah, Mendez. So I think that maybe this is what we should do is like a Tackett versus Rotolo fight
brothers
night. Yeah,
that would be sick. Do like almost a round robin, like
you
have to fight.
There we
each
go.
of
That's
the
what it
brother.
should be. That would be fun. It's like I understand why the Rotolos like have gone to 1 and like they're making a great money doing that, but like the matches that we've missed, I'm actually really excited. Dante and Ty is coming up.
Yeah, Dante is
it's Dante and Ty, right? Not Dante and Cade.
Oh, I don't know. I believe it's Ty. I believe you are correct. Yes, yeah, please. But yeah, Dante's killing it over in 1. He's having a bunch of success.
I used to. Okay, wait. Let's just check this really quick before I go talk about Dante. Dante versus Rotolo. Ty Rotolo.
Ty.
Yeah. So Dante, like I trained in Chicago for like all my ever since blue belt pretty much full time. And after I won that purple belt world title, that was kind of the end of my comedy story. Dante messaged me and was like, "Hey, you should come out here and train." And so I used to go out like for a week at a time, like pretty much probably every other month, maybe every 3 months. I'd take a week and I would go there and I would just stay with them and do the like kind of full time. That was like my kind of first exposure to like the full time jiu-jitsu lifestyle, I would say, like kind of training every day. They all do the West Side barbell lifting, so we were doing that, and you know, super tough rooms. Like some of the best rooms in like the country would be like in Ohio on a random Tuesday. It would be like Brad Schneider, who was there. It'd be like Lance Palmer, who won PFL. You'd have some like Ohio State wrestlers come through, Dante. You'd get some guys, Jacob Couch. I don't know if you know Jacob Borneman.
Yeah.
He was like a kid.
He's a mega athlete.
Yeah, he was like a kid at the time, but still just like a motherfucker in the room. Andrew Wiltsey back in the day used to come through. A lot of like just the Petticoat crew basically, and then me. So like just super good rooms that we would have in Ohio. In Toledo, Ohio, on a random like Saturday at like 4:00.
I couldn't picture you living in the gym with the Pedigo guys, you know?
No, they asked me, like he's a really nice guy.
He
does a lot for those guys, but he was like kind of recruiting me, and like not recruiting is maybe not the right word, but he was always like, you know, if you ever want to come and stay with us, we'd love to have you. And I'm too bougie. I like my $700 espresso machine. And I like my sparkling water in my glass bottle, and you know, all that stuff that I was not ready to give up.
JB lived in the gym for a little bit with those guys, and
if JB couldn't do it, I guarantee you that I could do it.
I've also been to JB's parents' house. They're two of the most lovely human beings ever, and you know, it's the typical only child house. It's like a shrine to JB. His room's still the same as it was when he was a kid. It's so funny. And I was like, yeah, it makes sense why you're going from this to living in the gym. You came back, you know?
I have a sister, but I literally, bro, I can't. I'm just like too. Like Myra says I'm like a hoarder a little bit. Like I have like a bookshelf that is just overflowing, and I like my MacBook is like this big because I like to have all the tabs so I can write, you know. Anytime I travel and like write and work, I have to do it on a laptop, and it just is not the same, you know.
And then how did you come from Chicago to B Team?
So I was teaching kids class and like a few adults classes at a gym in Chicago, and then I was training with my original coach Jeff Serafin, who gave me my black belt. I'm actually going up there for my first degree next week. Friday I get it, but I was there for a while, and I kind of got to the point where I was having I had, like I told you, I'd have to go to Toledo to train with the guys to get kind of like super high level looks, and I didn't really want to move out there. You know, it's kind of like I had some good training partners. Have you ever heard of Dan Borovic?
I have not.
So he was like a really good gi guy, you know, really good, super good grappler. Really good out of Milwaukee. And Mahmoud Jabbar was another guy. He's like a brown belt. He's brown belt world's medalist a few times at adult. You know, just like he has a gym in Milwaukee. And so I used to train with those guys a lot. Milwaukee's like another hour, but like in order to train with people, I had to drive like an hour to Wisconsin, 3 hours to Toledo. Even within Chicago, I used to go train at the 10th Planet, which was a 10th Planet Lombard on Sundays, which was like the best open mat in Chicago. It was an hour and 20 minutes from my apartment, which was in Chicago, you know? So like just so much. And then I taught at one gym that was 40 minutes away. Jeff's gym was like by my house, so that was like the only one that was close. But like I only had a couple partners who I could get consistently besides Jeff. So it was just really hard to progress to the like top level without having to like add these like massive commutes, and like it's like there's burnout, plus like trying to make money doing this is like doing seminars and stuff on the side. It was just really hard to make everything work. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna take a month and go to B Team and see if I like it, because I came for like a weekend, because I always liked to cross train. I would go train with J Flo in San Diego. Even before I met Myra, I used to go out there quite a bit. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go to Austin, because when I came to Austin the first time, it was like, I've known JB for years, and like, you know, I had a really good time my first time. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go for a month and I'm going to see if I like it. And after a month, I was like, okay, if I want to do jiu-jitsu professionally, I probably need to be in a room like this. And Austin is like pretty close to Chicago. It's like a 2-hour flight, you know, and I was doing a lot. My writing stuff was like kind of doing okay at the time. So I was like, okay, I'm going to move for a year and we'll see what happens. And that was almost 2 years ago. So
That's good.
so far,
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
First year was really rough. Like, cause I wasn't really making any money at all to live here, you know? So,
Yeah.
so I was losing money to stay here. But like after ADCC, everything kind of was like, we were able to pay rent better and pay off the credit card and stuff.
No, it's something I always said was like you were probably the most overlooked guy in the room for a long time, you know? And like I think people maybe were surprised by your ADCC performance, but I definitely wasn't. I know that rule set for you. Just having trained with you and like how tough you are to score on and like how dangerous you are the whole time, I knew you would have such a great run.
I think that I did not expect myself to do that well. I went into ADCC like, I hope I don't like suck. Like if I lose, that's okay because I wasn't even supposed to be there in the first place. Because the North American trials are brutal. So, like I got 4th, and because of CJI, like a couple people dropped out. So I was like, okay, got this. Like I've been gifted this opportunity on a silver platter. As long as I don't suck, I'll be okay with myself. And then, but then also too, like there is that like kind of competitor in me that's like, okay, looking at the bracket, if I get somebody like a Hinger or like there was a couple other guys. Hinger's the one that comes to mind because that's who I got. But there were like 3 or 4 guys who I was like, okay, if I get these guys first round, I can definitely advance to the quarters. And I thought that I was going to have Jay second round because that was how it was historically.
Before they changed it.
But then they changed it, and I was like, oh shit, okay, then I would have either Isaac or Negromonte, and I was like, okay, probably going to be Isaac. That's what I think everyone was thinking that. And then Negromonte beat him. And I remember being like, great, I don't know anything about this guy. But Jeff, who cornered me at ADCC, he was like, he watched like 5 Negromonte matches the week before just because he was like studying the whole division. And so he had all of this, like he had this like written game plan for all these guys who were like kind of not on my radar, you know?
Yeah, Charles is good. He lived in Australia for a while and competed a lot while he was there. So we were in one bracket one time, but I lost the semis, and he ended up winning the whole tournament. So we didn't have the match, but he's really good.
Dude, he was so hard to do anything to.
That's what everyone says. Everyone says he's just like so hard to attack. Like he's so well based and just so hard to entangle. Everyone I've ever like spoken to who's trained with him said the same thing.
Yeah, he was, and also like his wrestling was really solid. It was funny. I have this like the secret. One day I'll like drop my secret ADCC strategy, but I just like initiated him like a million times to kind of get through that one because I was like, after about like 5 minutes of the no points, I was like, oh, I'm probably not going to score on this guy.
Yeah, he wrestled. He did a lot of wrestling training in Australia with Jakob, who was Isaac's wrestling trainer too. And Jakob in Australia is very, very. He's held in very high regard for his ability to teach and his ability to convert his wrestling to jiu-jitsu. Yeah, awesome guy too. Just shout out to Jakob. So, Chris, the same question I ask everyone when we're wrapping up the podcast is, what is the end goal for Chris Wojcik?
So, I think that it's funny because the end goal is always changing based on, like, self-belief. So, like, I think that if you had asked me, like, before ADCC what my goal, like, with jiu-jitsu was, it would have been, like, oh, just compete and be my best and blah, 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 like kind of generic stuff. But I think that now that I've kind of like doing ADCC kind of made me realize like that, okay, I was kind of underselling myself a little bit. So I've been just super focused on putting myself out there as much as possible, like probably these next few years. I'd like to have a gym in the next few years as well. So that would be kind of another kind of like longer term project.
Would this be Chicago
Oh, I can't
or
disclose.
would this be San Diego? Would Myra get
Yeah.
you to San Diego?
This is the thing. When I open a gym, it'll either be in Chicago or San Diego.
Okay.
Those are the only two options that make sense.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like a few years out.
Or one in each.
Yes, that'd be a sign we're doing really well. But then also to like right now, just really focused on competition and like, you know, trying to remain as active as possible. So like trying to get, you know, matches booked for the summer and, you know, opportunities for like even late spring if we can. So stuff like that, just staying really active right now and learning as much as I can. And then I think like I said, originally I was like, oh, I want to, you know, not suck at ADCC. That was like my original goal. And then now it's like, okay, next time around, like it's medal or be sad. Like the goal, like, you know, taking fourth last time, anything less than a medal would be like not as big of an improvement as we liked.
Yeah.
Obviously, like I'm not like the kind of person who like I base my self-worth off of like competition results, but it's like if you're going to compete, you might as well, like if you're going to compete at this level, you might as well have like the highest expectations possible.
For sure. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Wojcik.
Thank you.
It's been wonderful. Anything else you want to plug while we're here?
Oh, yeah. Any White Monster listeners who enjoy literature, make sure you check out The Grappler's Diary on Instagram and on Substack, and check out A Grappler's Diary on Amazon. And also buy my instructional Woj Lock the World.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Chris.
All right. Thank you.